So it's with a great emotion and gratitude, but also, of course, with a heavy heart of missing someone that cannot be with us today, that I want to open this event devoted to Kvêta Pacovská. Her indelible art is our treasure of in the form of the art of picture book and in the art that she was living in through sculptures and paintings. But I won't take time out of our guests because I have the great honor and the pleasure to have here three of the very, very close friends of Kvêta Pacovská. They worked with her for decades in spreading her art, in publishing her books. And I want to thank them because in order to be here today, they canceled things, they made revolution in their schedules because they really care about being here, talking about the great art of Kvêta Pacovská. So I give my warmest welcome to Neugebauer, Minedition, the historical publisher of Kvêta Pacovská, and please make an applause to our guests because our heart is full of love and art and color for Kvêta Pacovská, and we want this to be a celebration of her art. So something that make our art full. So I thank very much Brigitte Morel, le grand personne, the historical publisher and friend of Kvêta Pacovská. Thank you very much, Brigitte, for being with us. And also, I give my warmest welcome to Elisabeth Perez Fernandez, Bonito Editorial. She's also an illustrator. She was working with Kvêta in the last decade in cultural management, writing books together, and she also just published a book with some critical essays and thoughts about the art of picture book of Kvêta Pacovská. Thank you so much, first of all, for being with us. And I would start sharing with you a video that Brigitte Morel very kindly shared with us. So we'll see and hear the voice of our beloved Kvêta Pacovská.
I think I have to say I started when my own children was very small. I will do for them some lovely picture. So, for example, some little bird or some other animals. But I also wanted to show them the nice color, the nice shape. My only wish that with my books and with my pictures make the children richer and recognize some beauty or some possibility of the beauty. I wanted to show them everything. I like that you recognize the beauty of the color, of the shape, but I really don't hate to repeat what, for example, some writer wrote in very nice telling story so I don't want to repeat it with my picture. I want to do some other dimension at the book. At first, should be what you do the best, and then have chance survive at the history. The picture have the power that you don't need know some languages and you understand it immediately. You know, it exists something you cannot describe and you do not want to describe it because then you destroy it. It's very wonderful when can you have such feeling that somebody keeps something nice from your art. I do it for children because I believe that children recognize what I wanted to say and never ask why I do it.
And why do you do it?
Yeah. I do it because it's my pleasure and hope that somebody enjoy it also afterwards. I wish always that children love my painting, but you know, not each child is the same. Like a child, I have painting a lot, and I have learned a lot from my grandma, because she also does very nice thing, and so it was a nice time with her. She take care about the family, and I think that you don't need be painting to be able to show the child's beauty. She showed me in everyday life the beauty that I can recognize. We are do nice things, for example, for the Merry Christmas, and a lot of funny things that in a real have a connection with art. She gave me the taste of art for my life, and that was the wonderful thing that she gave me.
So thank you, Brigitte, for bringing this beautiful video. I'd like to know more about your relationship. You were a publisher, the French publisher of Kvêta Pacovská in a long time. So it has been a path shared together of work and art. And so how would you like to talk about her art and your relationship?
Yes, so sorry, but I must speak in French because my English is very broken. So we have a translator here. OK. C'est bien sûr très émouvant pour moi de parler après ce film.
I'm very moved to be able to speak after this film.
Donc j'ai rencontré Květa dans les années 90. À l'époque, je travaillais dans l'édition depuis quelques années. Et Květa publiait au départ chez un éditeur allemand, Ravensburger. Et nous achetions ces livres chez Ravensburger pour les publier en français aux éditions du Seuil.
I met her in the 1990s. I'm going into English, okay, not into Italian. I met her in the 1980s at a time when I had been working in publishing for some years, in fact. And Květa was published by a German publisher, Ravensburger, and this was linked to a French publisher.
Assez rapidement, Ravensburger a arrêté de publier ses ouvrages. Et je laisserai bien sûr Michael Neugebauer aussi parler d'une autre facette de son travail qu'il a suivi aussi pendant des années. Et donc Květa s'est retourné assez naturellement vers nous, son éditeur français, pour la publier directement. car c'est vrai que assez rapidement, nous avons pu fabriquer des livres objets assez sophistiqués qui lui convenaient aussi, dont la fabrication lui convenait.
And after a fairly short time, in fact, Ravensburger stopped publishing her work, and I'll let Michael talk about another facet of her work, because of course he published her for many years. And then she turned directly to us to have us at CERN publish her work, and we were able in fact to develop and publish some books which were very sophisticated object books.
Alors la façon dont on travaillait avec Kvêta était assez spécifique et définie en fait. Kvêta venait à Paris, déjà elle adorait venir à Paris. Elle adorait naturellement dès qu'elle venait à Paris, elle allait visiter énormément de musées, elle était très heureuse quand elle venait à Paris. Et généralement, quand elle nous présentait un nouveau projet, elle arrivait avec une toute petite maquette, voilà, mais dans laquelle il y avait déjà en fait tout. Il y avait déjà toutes les découpes qui étaient prévues, toutes les parties avec les vernis, quand il devait y avoir des couleurs argentées, quand il devait y avoir une 5e couleur par exemple. Je sais que nous, on a beaucoup utilisé le rose comme 5e couleur dans ces livres. Voilà, tout était vraiment déjà prévu. Et donc moi, en fait, mon travail, c'était d'essayer de faire le livre auquel elle avait rêvé. Voilà. Et croyez-moi, parfois, ce n'était pas facile.
In fact, she came to us with, the way we worked with her was she came to us very often in Paris. She adored Paris. She went to museums. She was always very happy to come. And she arrived always with a small mock-up. And the mock-up, in fact, it was already practically had everything in it. It had the way that she wanted the layout. It had the various colors, if there was any lacquer or any sort of silver color, the 5 colors that she also wanted to use. We used a lot of pink. That was the 5th color that she wanted in her books. So in this little mock-up, she practically had included everything. And my job was just to make a book of what she had dreamed, which wasn't always very easy.
Et bien sûr, il faut aussi parler du noir et du rouge dans ces ouvrages, qui sont bien sûr des couleurs extrêmement importantes. Et donc, nous avions mis au point assez rapidement avec elle le noir, qui a toujours été le même après qu'on utilisait dans tous ces livres, et le rouge aussi. Donc, à chaque fois, on retravaillait aussi, bien sûr, énormément ces couleurs pour qu'il y ait toujours le même noir, le même rouge, avec la même qualité d'un livre à l'autre.
And of course, you've got to talk about the black that she used and the red. These were very, of course, important colors for her in her work. And in fact, we developed a very specific type of black and red, which we always went back to when we did her work.
I loved what you said, Brigitte, because it's like a publisher makes a book out of a dream, out of a vision, and that makes the publishing work and the relationship between a publisher and an artist so special. And the space of the book, you mentioned the shape of Květa books are unusual. The research was in color, but also in format, are here on display and were part of this publishing work. And how was the process of meeting, for example, after or during the publishing work? Like she would come and see the maquette because, for example, you mentioned the pink as a 5th color, and so the research that in a publishing house is done to produce what really is the vision of the artist. And this artist, we know, had many references, of course, to abstractism and painting. We will go through it, of course, later, but it had a very specific idea, I guess, as a reader, of the space of the book, as of the quality of colors. So how this impact on your work together?
Květa venait vraiment à Paris souvent, dès qu'on avait besoin d'elle. Elle n'hésitait pas, elle disait voilà, je viens. Et c'est vrai que quand on parle de la forme de ses ouvrages, elle mentionnait souvent que pour elle, ces livres étaient avant tout un peu comme des architectures de papier et qu'il fallait vraiment ils étaient vraiment faits aussi pour être disposés dans l'espace, et que pour elle, ces livres, c'était un petit peu les premiers musées que les enfants allaient visiter. Donc c'est aussi toujours comme ça qu'on a suivi son travail. C'est vrai qu'en France aussi, on a la chance d'avoir un public qui peut suivre aussi ce genre d'auteur, ce genre d'artiste. Voilà, donc pour nous, c'était vraiment devenu une autrice très, très importante de notre catalogue, hein, puisqu'après, elle nous a suivis dans les différentes maisons. Elle a toujours continué à travailler avec nous, donc c'était vraiment quelque chose d'important.
Květa, in fact, would come to Paris as soon as we asked her to and when we needed, and she said immediately, I'll come. With regard to the actual shape and format of her work, she always said that, in fact, her books were like architecture in paper, and she wanted her books to be laid out in space, to have a particular position in space. And she said also that for children, her books were the first museum that she would ever go and they would ever go and look at. And it was always like that. That's the way that she worked. Luckily in France, we have a public, an audience, which likes this sort of artistic genre. And so we were very lucky. And then also, she, of course, became very important in our catalogue. And also she followed us when we changed the publisher. We kept her.
Thank you very much, Brigitte, for your contribution. I want to mention that Květa Pacovská was born in Prague in July 28th of 1928, and she passed away the 6th of February. So it's very recent in Prague. That was her city, and you were mentioning the fact that there is a big innovation in her work. I mean, she was innovative and modern even at her beginning, and her books were really different from any others that you could see. And I would like to ask you, Neugebauer, your historical publisher of Květa Pacovská, you are also wearing a very beautiful shirt homaging her art, and she would like it very much because it's very joyful, as she was, and playful. And Mikael, first of all, I would like to ask you, how was your first meeting? When and where and how did you meet Květa for the first time and her art?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. You know, Květa means a lot to us. She formed our image of publishing a lot of, like Brigitte also knows. Her art was outstanding, unusual, and I know we talk about now the sad thing, she passed away, but her art will always live, and her time, I feel, is still to come because she's timeless. She's so modern in her art. And you talked a lot about the production, and indeed, it was always quite the challenge to get what she wanted. And then at the end, we met like 35 years ago in the late 80s in Prague. But I have come across her pictures, her books. They were published in Mladé Leta, a Czech, Prague publishing house. They did very fine books. And she was totally unknown because of the Iron Curtain then, and there was not free traveling. She couldn't get out of Czechoslovakia. So I went to see her there because I was so impressed what I saw. Unusual, I've never seen anything like that. So we introduced her first books in the so-called West, and that was in 1988. There was another German publisher who published books which were done, but not originated by him. They were done in Prague by Mladé Leta, and they published them in Germany. When I came to see her, she was upstairs on the first floor in the green lane, so translated, and on the fourth floor, and up on that fourth floor was a huge printing machine in a tiny, tiny room. And I said, how did you get this machine up? You know, what is it called? These huge presses for etchings she had upstairs. And I never found out how she got it up. And later on, she moved to where the video was done. She moved to a modern house, a little bit on the outskirts of Prague. The machine wasn't there anymore. And I said to her, where is the other machine gone, the huge printing machine? And she was just smiling, so I never found out where this machine has gone to. So we talked about my first meeting with her. My last discussion or talking with her was in the middle of January when she called me and she said, oh, I'm so glad you're calling me because I have so much to tell you. And because we are working on her latest book, which is actually her very first book. It was never published. And I made dummy. This is only one piece. And she did that for her children. She has 2 sons, and she has made it for them. And funnily enough, it was written and told in German. So this was quite unusual. And she preferred to speak German. Of course, her mother tongue is Czech. Yeah. And there's so many facets and so many stories I could tell you in these more than 30 years. Being friends, very close in many ways, and she often called me and just to see how I was, and I called her how she was. And we traveled the world. We traveled especially a lot in Asia. We had a wonderful exhibition in Taipei. It was not just hanging up pictures, similar what you did in the Centre Pompidou, which was so impressive. There were objects you could walk into. And so she did these tiny models. And this was also quite a challenge, not just making her books, but doing this exhibition. And she was also quite demanding because she said, no, I don't like this. I want it like this. And I said, how are we going to do that? And we succeeded, and we had this stunning exhibition. She was on TV all over China, or mainly Taiwan then. And when that was in the 2010 or something like that, she was over 80, and they asked her, when are you coming back to China? And she said, oh, maybe when I'm hungry. 100, yeah. And this was a mistake now, because hungry relates to an old joke we had. I said, Květa, are you coming to Bologna? We talked about that she is coming to Bologna this time. And she said, no, Michael, only if you make pancakes, palatschinken, every morning for me for breakfast. And we had a lot of fun. You think she's a very serious person, but she loved to laugh, like a little girl. And when she was in this new apartment, she had an elevator. What a progress. And that was on the 6th floor, though. And I rang the bell, and she said, I'm coming downstairs. And I said, no, I'm going upstairs, Květa, don't go down. No, I take the elevator. So I waited, nobody in the elevator. So I took the elevator back up. Květa isn't here. I said, Květa, where are you? And behind the corner, like a little girl, she jumped up and said, boo. So that's the other side of Kvêta Pacovská. Yeah? I got lots of these kind of stories to tell.
I love your stories, and I love these beautiful friendships that were made out of the beauty of art. And what also I have a little tiny memory I want to share with you, because I met Květa here in Bologna in 2005. I was of course younger, and I was part of group that curated an exhibition of Kvêta, Pacovská. This was the catalog, the small catalog, and also one of the curator who was writing, a critic who knows very well the art of Kvêta Pacovská, Paola Vassalli. Thank you for coming, Paola. She wrote a beautiful essay, a beautiful article about her art. And that year I was in charge for going and take her and help her with things, you know, take her in the hotel and things like this. And what my impression was that the quality of her art was really like resounding in the quality of the person, because to me she was ageless, totally ageless, totally bright, totally curious and open and light in a way, even if she was material as artists are. I mean, she was in space, in colors, in books. And she also met children in this exhibition, and she was amazing with them. She was actually, she was an artist, so the art is a quality very close to childhood, I think, spiritually as a soul. And also from the video, we see that she was interested in art for its own value. So give art to children as a space for joy, for beauty in itself. So this is very modern and innovative till now. Of course, make it close to avant-garde, to postmodernism. We should say a lot about this, but I don't want to take time out of you. So, Mikael, I would like to ask you, which are the books that you made together that you are more linked to? The books, your favorite books that you made together. I know it's a very difficult one. It's a very difficult
Marcella,
one.
you know,
made
the books are like
dozens.
our children. Ask a mother, what is your favorite child?
Like a mom and dad.
Yeah. So each one has a story. And of course, the ladies' book, this new one, you can look at it at our booth in Hall 30, C20, in case you're interested. Is probably now something where my thoughts are, and even more now that we worked in September, we worked together in Prague on it. And by the way, Brigitte, did you ever meet her husband?
No, never.
Okay, her husband is 97 now, and he's also an artist, but she never talked about her husband. So I had the pleasure and the honor to, because she was frail at the end, the last 2 years, so I had the privilege to visit her at her home. And there was her husband, and she couldn't escape that I saw his art. That was her, right? Very typical. But it was always so exciting to work with her. And what I also like and remember in many cases is, like you already mentioned, she came with a tiny model, and they're beautifully done, just as you said. They had everything in it. And then she finished the book, and she said, now you can come and see it. Or she came to the fair, or she came to Salzburg or so. And then she did the presentation, and I filmed it, but it would have been too long when she presented the book. It was quite something. And I'm looking forward that we are putting it on Instagram. I have taken quite a few photos in my last visit, but I felt like she was so frail. She was very peculiar, what kind of photos you are showing. So I think maybe she would not be so happy about it. Anyway, she lives in our family, in our fantasy, in our memory, and her books will always be among us, and this is the living a life, Květa Pacovská. She will live on, not only in our hearts. What a wonderful thing, you're an artist, and if you all have to go one day, and you know you leave so much behind, people enjoy, they have a pleasure, and I can only say thank you, Květa. It was wonderful to work with you.
Thank you, Mikael. Thank you. That's why we talk about indelible art, indelible art of Květa, because we have her books that are that are joining children and readers of every age, because another characteristic of her art, as art it is that has no age, has no a favorite reader, even if it can speak also to very, very small children. I have to say, when we were saying... Sure.
Because we are in bookstores, our salespeople go, and most of the time people say, yeah, but this is not for children. And they are totally wrong. I'm glad you brought that up, because children love her art. And I wish that people stop thinking about when something is sophisticated, that it's not good for children.
Yeah, I think when her books began to arrive also in Italy, it was C'era una volta, Alfredo Stoppa.
Yeah,
am I right, Michael?
Alfredo, of course.
Alfredo made it, and I remember they really were. It was because it was the King of Flower. It was different from any other book we had. As a bookseller at the time, we had to say what do we do with this book, and the book is like so effective at different levels that it is a universal piece of art. It is the art of picture book, and also we know that Květa had also a very clear idea about the art of picture book and the art of illustration, and about this I would like to hear from you, Elisabeth Perez, who you were working with Květa very intensely during the last decade. You made a lot of projects together and meetings and lectures, and so I would like to know about your work together and of course about your vision on her heart.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to be in this round table because I arrived later to the life of Květa and she arrived to my life later. I have prepared a presentation to show more or less how I found her, and it was also with your books, so thank you as well. This is a photo of Stefan, one of the sons of Květa, and more or less in this moment, maybe I was like a small seed, I think. I don't know if this is working. This is me in the 90s. So Květa and me, I was born in the 88. Our difference of age is 60 years, but has been one of my best friends in the last 10 years. I found her books in the bookstores, your books, and later I also found the very beginnings of Květa in old bookstores of Prague, like Blim Blim Blam Blam, other titles with Albatross. For me, it was incredible, the softness of her and the strength that she had. And when I began working with art, illustration, in my very beginnings, I was making art research. So I come from the contemporary art, not just from children's books. So I also learn and investigate and, research about her work with sculpture and paintings and everything. And I was glad that, I have to say that I'm as well a publisher, but in 10 years I have made only these books. So you can imagine how the kind of publisher that I am. I distribute. It's another way of doing books, really slow and different. When I met Květa for the very beginning, it was my first year as publisher, and I just have these 2 books. She was at Montreal, and I asked her to come to Bilbao to make a conference and a workshop. So we were talking a lot in Montreal, and she was really nice, but just like that. When she came to Bilbao, we came together to the Guggenheim, and we discovered that we had a lot of things in common, like love of Tapies, C. Twombly, other artists. And we had a strange beginning with the course because we eat something that was not good. So our friendship started like with problems. And everything was funny with her. It's the same thing that he said, Michael, because it was a week that we were both sick and we were laughing all the week. After this, I think that we were really, like, I don't know, we made the friendship from that moment. We make conferences there in Bilbao. This is in Bilbao Arte, in Bilbao Arte Foundation. And later on, we start working also in other kind of conferences. We have traveled as well a lot. I have come to Prague to visit her, to see for example, this is an exhibition, Maximum Contrast, that she made. And also in the fairs, we were always like seeing here in Bologna, Montreal, and Frankfurt. And well, with this book that I'm showing you, I won a prize that a paper company sent me the best paper that I can choose. So I said, okay, I have to make a book that must be special. Because you can imagine that I am alone in the publishing house. It's a small publishing house, and I couldn't make a really special book with 850 grams of paper if I won't won a prize. So later on, we were seeing together in other fairs, and I decided to make with her a conference in Florence, in the Museo Marino Marini, about the contrast, but not in form, like conceptually. I make her make a conference with Paula Bonet, that is a young illustrator from Spain, and it was called From Classical to Modern. And people thought that the classical was made by the old person and the modern from the young person, but it was the opposite, and that was what I was searching for. So this is in the Museo Marino Marini. It was also so funny to have them together. Paula is somebody that uses engraving, old techniques, is really figurative. So the contrast between them was really beautiful. And well, also we were making workshops in Florence. And in this moment, I saw these pages. She was reading to the students some thoughts of herself. I have seen a documentary of Sarah Bloom, that is from France, that also was called Pieces of My Thoughts. But there was saying some sentences, but this was just like all the theory of Květa was in these pages. So I was like, oh my God, this is so powerful. And that night, we were having dinner, and she said, well, I was asking her, but these sentences, you change them? Do you have a lot of them? No, I have. I write them sometimes. And you have never published a theory book. And she said, no. Do you want to do it? And I was like, oh. Because I was never imagining that Květa wanted to make a book with me, because I was beginning as a publisher. So I said, of course. And I have the paper. We can choose the paper that we want. So
this is the book.
This is the book. So there we start having fun. We met in Valencia. I was with all the proofs of paper we were choosing. And she was also making conferences. As always, we were visiting museums there. And she sent me all the sentences. I translate them. I send them to her. And she was cutting all the copies of the papers, all the sentences in Spanish and English, and she worked the originals. It was like a tower of originals like this, with all the pieces of paper cut and glued. And when I went to Prague, we were there in this photo, putting in order all, like, talking about the rhythm of the book and everything. It was an experience for me, because I always enjoy with her, but this was a super responsibility for me as well. And well, I travel back home. Well, we take a coffee, and I travel back home with all the originals. I scan them, I clean them, and then for producing the book, we had a fair in Bilbao, and the paper was not arriving. And we were thinking what to do, because the fair was there, we have the conference. And I said, Květa, this is the paper that we need, so I have to rent a big truck. So I rent a big truck from Bilbao to Italy to take the paper and bring it to Bilbao, because I always do books in Bilbao. I am not an usual publisher, okay? I like to be there in seeing all the processes. And that's why I need to have the printing house near my house. And the thing is that we finally get the paper, we produce the book, and this was the pages first of being rilegato, no sé cómo se dice. Well, made the book. I don't know the sentence. My English is not so good, as you can see. And well, this is the process of making a book that all you know. Bound, yeah, thank you. And these are the books. She's signing them. And she was super, super proud of this book, because at the end it was all the theory of her. It was just black and white. And we present this with a few books. It was all sold out the first day, because with the hurry of making the book and everything from the this problem with the paper, we just produced like 50 books for the first day, another 50 the next day, like this, because it's like handmade, the binding. And the fair was super fun, and she was so happy with the book, because everybody wanted the book. So we presented in a conference as well. And in this conference, I have to say something, well, the photo passed. In this conference, there was another person that was so old, and I think the person of the conference, of the book fair, thought that it was normal to put two people of the same age together in a round table. But she was thinking all the time, like, why I'm near to this man, because I don't have anything in common, no? Because her mind is super young. Yeah, so we were like all the conference laughing like like this, but what? And this is the book. This is the book inside. Well, it has double stamping. Inside it has a really beautiful paper. And when we were preparing all the conferences after we made the book, later we were preparing a conference in a museum in Barcelona, CCCB, and the pandemic arrives, so we canceled everything. And then we were like sending emails. We were thinking about new possibilities. I asked her that I wanted to make a book also of theory but of color, and it must be with a lot of color but abstract. But we didn't do it. We didn't arrive on time. This is my last visit to her house. There was also Milan. I thought that I was never going to speak about Milan because of that thing. He's also a nice painter. And well, at the end, I was also there because last year in a festival that I organized that is called Irudica, Czech Republic was coming as guest of honor. So I said, Květa, I know that you cannot travel, because she was saying, oh, no, I cannot move from my house. And I said, okay, I will go there. And we film something, and then we project something, your voice with your images, and that's all. But at the end, well, I'm going to put a video later that you are going to hear some small pieces. Finally, we just like eat some bananas, take a tea with honey, and we didn't make the thing of the video. I was just happy to be with her another afternoon and be having a good time. So the project was in the air, and I just want to finish this saying that I have 3 presents from Květa from these years. One is seeing her working. It's really beautiful seeing her drawing. Another thing is this small book that she sent to me that is like the same book that we made, but in a small scale. And also her friendship. And that's all. And I wanted to read this sentence because for me it's super nice, that it says, the end, sometimes I work all day or sometimes all week, and I am not satisfied, so I take scissors and cut everything up, and I am again dissatisfied, so I paste it all back together again. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elisabeth. And I think to close, we'd love to see the video that you brought and feel the energy of this publishing work that is combined with friendship and with common views and laughs and person really meeting in the space of art and in the name of picture book and children's book.
Just now. Yeah. I have to introduce myself because I am Květa Pacovská, and momental I have here the nice visit with Elisabeth Fernandez. This is beautiful because we are speaking about the new book with a very careful new book. Maybe will be done in the next time.
That's a dream.
Pieces of my thought is my very wonderful book because it's totally others like the other one, because it's something very close to my heart. My thoughts. That's all. I am thinking that should be something special, and should be something totally others like if I do the other book that are printed the normal way. Mm-hmm. Because it's a handmade book, and that is very powerful and wonderful things for me. And that's difficult to say. Because always think when I do the new book, this is the most beautiful.
So now you are thinking about the colorful one.
Exactly. That I am thinking for now. The colors can be warm, cold. I forget it. And the idea is everyday working from the morning to the evening. And that I believe in it. And you are working all the days, all the months, all the year, until come the real inspiration and the idea of very new things.
Thank you for being with us, Neugebauer, Elisabeth Perez, Brigitte Morel. Thank you for coming to the inedible art of Květa Pacovská.